What's up, guys? Happy New Year here. I have my 2021 Best Albums of the Year list here for you. I am super excited to finally be done with this. I've been studying new albums this all past month and a half just to make sure I get my order in a good order, and I was originally just going to do a top 20, but then I got a couple more things in, then I listened to a couple more things, and I wound up being a 25, and I am super hyped to be doing this. So, in the background, we're listed some top quality Swedish power metal, Castle of Yesterday by the band Reptilian. It's really good. This guy's got kind of a David Coverdale kind of voice to him. It's really, really good sounding stuff. A lot of fun, and who doesn't love that kind of a cheeseball album cover? I don't know. I just been digging on some power metal again. One of my homies is really into this stuff, so I am just over the moon about it as usual. We're drinking some Korzell beer, Polish beer, as pretty much almost always. It's a dark lager. I haven't had one of these. I have the light one upstairs. That's the one that I've had, but I bought it in a 4-pack. That is a gorgeous color. I guarantee I'm going to love this. It's probably going to be very bready, very malty, very delicious. Very excited to have a nice, good old-fashioned swig. Alright. Oh, that's wonderful. Alright. So, let's get into this. This is going to be a long one. So, number 25. One I got from old Lonnie over at the Classy Metal channel. The Rain Will Cleanse by Chrome Waves. Chrome Waves is a post-rock, almost black metal-ish band from Chicago. This is a pretty good album. I like it quite a bit. It's not a normal listening thing for me. It's basically similar in style to all of the parts in Alcest that make it not black metal. It's all the kinds of stuff, it's kind of heady, it's really artsy, it's cleaner, and it's kind of somber, but it's a decent enough album to have made it on my 25. But I really think this is good stuff. It's out on Transcending Records. So that's number 25. Chrome Waves. Number 24 is going to be Existence is Futile by Cradle of Filth. Cradle of Filth being a classic band in the, I guess you would call them, black metal style. This is not really much of a black metal album. It has some hints of it, some recollections of it, at least to an extent. But this is by no means a true cult album. But it's a decent album for sure. I did enjoy it. I am glad that I bought it. It's got a lot of cool riffing to it. It has almost a death metal attack to it. It's really, I was listening to it and I was really thinking, wow, this kind of sounds like some Gothenburg, Sweden kind of melodic death metal. So if you haven't listened to this, it's way less goth than, some of their mid-era stuff, like Damnation in His Day. It's a lot better than that kind of stuff, I would say. Good album, number 24 from Cradle of Filth. Number 25 is the first tape. This is Little Turtles War by Pan American Native Front. Pan American Native Front seemed to have been making an awful lot of waves, and it really turned into a big trophy hunter kind of band this year, which is cool and all, but a bit of overhype is never a good thing for me. I do enjoy that logo quite a bit, though. Obviously, it's nothing to do with its placement on this list. Chicago band, project, I should say. It's really good. It's pretty raw. It's got quite a bit of bestial qualities to it, It's almost got this warlike quality, being absolute chaos, really noisy and kind of hard to keep track of what's going on individually. It's definitely more of an atmospheric listen, but not in a tranquil way. It's more of an atmospheric chaos, it's definitely something cool. I do thoroughly enjoy it. I'm glad I purchased it. I wish I had it on CD. It would probably have gotten more listens. And yeah, it's got some little bits of folk, sprinkled over the top, but more like how Fortress influence uses their folk influence. More of like a sample rather than an implementation of the instruments. It's a cool album though, number 23. Number 22, Norwegian black metal, Porten by Last Lightning. Last Lightning, like I said, is a Norwegian black metal band from partially Bergen, and I'm sure a couple other areas around Bergen. but it's a good, pretty riffy, almost modern sounding, modern black metal album. It's got some melody to it, but not a ton, and it's really based in some catchiness. You know, it's got some catchy, noticeable lines in the vocals, which is something in black metal you don't see a lot of. You don't hear a lot of people, you know, making catchy choruses and wanting to have hummable parts in a song sometimes. So that's a nice change of pace for this kind of style. And obviously, you beat out something like Pan American Native Front and Cradle of Filth, you're doing something right. So number 22 is Last Lightning with Portland. Number 21 is the self-titled Halloween album. Halloween is obviously a legendary band in the power metal genre, and obviously I'm a big fan of some power metal, but this album overstays its welcome a bit. I think if it was a little bit shorter, maybe closer to the 10-track mark, because, you know, there's not a less than 4-minute track on here, and a lot of them are above that, but I think overall it was a really, really good album. It's definitely worth owning. I kind of wish all of the songs were just on one disc, but... Oh, sorry, best time is 3 minutes and 36 seconds. But it's a great record. It's epic. It's, you know, it's Quest-like. It's, yeah. If it cut down a little bit, it's a little bit long-winded, a little hard to take with all of the vocals sometimes, but nonetheless, some quality questing music. Number 20, another one that I got from Classy Metal. I really enjoyed this. I listened to this a couple times as soon as I got it from them, and I just thought it was great. This is Theism with The Sleeper Awakens. This is an Italian death metal band. I want to call it progressive or maybe technical, but it's super, super dissonant stuff. It's just absolutely like a hellish technicality that just clashes so hard, but it's perfect. It's just drenched in atmosphere, especially being a death metal band. That's not something you see in death metal all the time. If you're going to be listening to something like this, you're probably already a fan of stuff like Gorgot's later era, maybe Obscura to maybe Colored Sands, and further on, as well as Ulcerate. I could definitely see fans of Korod being a fan of this. It's definitely a great album. Go listen to Autotheism if you have not done so already. I think you will greatly enjoy it. Some riffs here, man. Serious riffs. Next, I haven't shown this in an update yet, but that is absolutely okay. Number 19 is Sunjitsu by Iron Maiden. This was actually at the 23rd spot until yesterday. I switched it up when I wrote it out after I went and listened to it in the car. Excuse me, I love this awesome digipack where it changes colors. Or changes, yeah, there you go. Turns into that, and then the other times it's that. I love this. It's a great, great album. I will show the packaging in my update. But, you know, this is definitely a long-winded one, and I know that was my complaint with the Halloween album. But this one, I think, works a little bit better, which is odd, because a lot of people I heard complaining about this, it was kind of boring because it was samey. It was mid-pace the whole time. But I think in the mid-pace, it created, like, more of a churning atmosphere. You know, it kept going well. It was kind of like a battle march, almost, like a dirge, I would say. And it worked out really well. And the second half of this thing is really where it shines for me. The last 3 tracks, even the last 4, but the last 3 in particular, are definitely my favorite. The Death of the Celts, The Parchment, and Hell on Earth. Especially Death of the Celts is probably my favorite song on here. There are a few albums this year that made me kind of feel like I was riding on horseback and about to go clash some swords. The Parchment also had a similar atmosphere to it. I was actually explaining that to my fiance. We were driving around yesterday, and it's great. Great album. I would 100% recommend you check that one out if you haven't. Number 18 is an album I also haven't shown in an update yet, so I will also be doing that again later. But this is Cursed Be Thy Kingdom by Bewitcher. Bewitcher is a black and heavy metal band from somewhere in the desert. I don't remember exactly. Maybe Arizona or something like that. But Bewitcher is a great album or band. It's really catchy. It's really fun. Some of the themes are absolute and total cheese, which is, you know, that's okay sometimes. I'm alright with a little cheese. But obviously the lyrics don't matter all that much. The aesthetics kind of fit pretty well. I really enjoy it. It's riffy, it's fun, it's catchy, it's really fist poundable, it's headbangable. What else could you ask for when it comes to a black and heavy metal album? I mean, come on now. Number 13. Like I said, my buddy Anthony over at the Metal Miners made me privy to this one. This is Crypt of Ice by Frozen Soul. You guys just saw me show this in my last vinyl update. This is just a top quality death metal album from this year. It's bolt throwery. It's really not super aggressive, but it's definitely atmospheric. It's suffocating and it's huge. It's definitely a whole thing that I would love to get more of a style from. You know, everybody's trying to sound like Incantation. There's a couple of bands that do sound a lot like Bolt Thrower these days, and this is definitely one of them. It's like Bolt Thrower featuring the Snow Miser from that old what is that? It's that New Year's movie, you know what I'm talking about, with the puppets. It's kind of what this sounds like. Yeah, the Snow Miser on vocals. But it's a great Bolt Thrower album, a slow, kind of like a whole glacier moving at you at once album. Great stuff. Absolutely love it. Next, number 16 is Froth with the album 2, or I, or whatever you want to say. This is the second Froth album from this year. I was a huge fan. I fell head over heels in love with the first one, not even knowing it had anything to do with the Project Seor. When I first found it, I actually think I might have found Froth first. But that first one was one of my favorite black metal albums I could think of, and I need to pick up a copy of it. I haven't bought it yet. It's just kind of expensive because it's not been well pressed, sadly. But this one, compared to that one, is a lot less atmospheric and a lot more of a straightforward, melodic, kind of almost dissection-y, sacramentum-y black metal album. It's really fun. I enjoy it quite a bit. It's not what I wanted out of Froth, considering how great that first album was, because I would probably consider that one for sure in the top 50 black metal albums of all time, maybe the top 30. But absolutely top tier. I really do enjoy this an awful lot. Check out the new Froth if you have not. Number 15 is an album that I was recently shown in one of my updates as well. I am a big fan of this group nowadays. I gotta get up onto their early stuff. But this is Angel of Carnage Unleashed by Darkwood's My Betrothed, being number 15. This is just basically a blasting, angry, symphonic masterpiece. It is just everything you want out of the style of symphonic black metal. It's not super stupid. It's not really corny like, you know, Dimmu Borgir got, or like Cradle of Filth got, or like Limbonic Art kind of is, or I shouldn't say that. Limbonic Art, I don't think I've ever heard anything I particularly didn't like by that band, but we're talking about this. This album is just fast, and it's what I wish Dimmu Borgir was. And it's quality. It's fun, but it's not, you know, it's still grim. It maintains that, but it also has a lot of listenability to it. I wouldn't say it's catchy or anything, but I'm sure you guys have all listened to Darkwood's My Betrothed. Number 14, The Tritonius Bell by Hooded Menace. Hooded Menace is a great Finnish death doom band. This album has a lot more influences from some more traditional metal than just straight up doom. They do have some moments of some really brutish doom in here, but I think that the real big star of the show was the heavy metal stylings of this one. It's a really big, triumphant soundscape, not in like an epic quest battle kind of sound, but it's just huge and enormous sounding, which is something I always enjoy quite a bit about Hooded Menace. I got into them with the album that everybody seems to not like all that much. I can't think of the name, but it's the one from 2014. And this one is quite the different one, but it still sounds just like Hooded Menace. Now, fun fact, Andy LaRocque did the recording, I believe, for this, so mixing and mastering or something, and I believe he played on here. I looked in the Metal Archives, and it says he didn't, but I also heard he had a hand in it somewhere else. So I'm not sure, take it or leave it, but Hooded Menace is definitely earned their spot at number 14. This guy's going off right now with the piano. Number 13 is an album I actually I'm still waiting on my pre-order to get here for, but it is Eared with De Rerum Natura. This is a Italian black metal band. I pre-ordered it on Amazon, I think in the beginning of this month, or maybe in November. I don't remember off the top of my head. But it is just a lush, atmospheric, brilliant masterpiece. It is just beyond words how gorgeous it is, and it's only a little bit, it's between 30 and 40 minutes, and that is more than enough time with it, because I think if it starts dragging on a little bit too much, it gets a little boring, especially because it's not necessarily the most original album I've ever heard in my years of loving this kind of atmospheric black metal stuff. But it really hits the spot, and it hits the spot well, and I really do appreciate that about it. And it's just gorgeous. I mean, it's got some summoning stylings to it, but also has a lot of like the lush kind of keyboard heavy, but not keyboard centered, if you know what I mean, kind of style to it. I'm a big fan of it, and Eared is number 13. Number 12 is going to be... Sorry, I'm a tad out of order here. Number 12 is going to be Firing Holds by the Waters of Awakening. This is another stylistically similar band to that last one that I was just talking about. This is a UK band, and it is out on Nature Mech Productions. I picked this up off of Bandcamp, and I really liked it. I listened to it a couple times in a video or two ago, and it's just synthy, summoning styled epic black metal. It's got quite a bit of melodic black metal tendencies, I'd say, to it as well. It's not it's not something you haven't heard before, but again, this is probably my favorite style there is of metal. So if you're gonna make that style, I'm probably gonna like it. And it's a gorgeous album. It's Skyrim Quest music. Next, number 11. This one has just, every time I listen to it, I wound up loving it even more. This is, so Christoph told me how to say this album title, but I'm sorry, buddy, I am not going to even make the effort. But Avert with their new full length this year, absolutely stellar stuff, man. I absolutely love this one. Every time I listen to it, it's really melodic, it's really riffy, but it's not super quick, and it's not blasting constantly, and that's something I really appreciate. Overly blasty black metal bores me a lot of the time, and this is just tastefully well-written musical black metal. It's got quite a bit of melodies. It kind of dances in between major and minor, and it almost has this like Moon Sorrow riffing style where it's really melodic, and it's not super fast. It's kind of jumpy and fun, but at the same time it's still grim, but it doesn't have any of the folky instruments. It's got some acoustic guitar, if I remember right, but it doesn't have that, and it's just absolutely stellar. I really love this album quite a bit, and I am super glad to have it. It just barely got beat out into the top 10, and I am super glad to own this one. Thank you again, Christoph. Now, we're into the top 10 here. This is where it starts getting super crazy. I mean, Avertia was the real, like, start of the top shelf. So this is Vredensdal with Silence is Eternal. This one just barely beat that one out, and that is just because this one reminds me a ton of Panzerfaust by Darkthrone, and that is one of my favorite black metal albums of all time. This is super riffy. It's got some doominess to it. It's got some traditional metal. It's got a lot of hints of, the early thrash movement. Definitely feel a little bit of Motorhead in here. It's got all kinds of great stuff in it. It's really headbangable black metal. It's not as dark as you would think something like Burzum would be or whatever. It's just really good metal. It's metal black metal. It's not just this kind of I'm gonna be grim for the sake of being grim. It's just great stuff. I really enjoy this one. Vredensdal, number 10. Number 9. This is a new one that I have not yet thrown into my update yet. You will see it soon. There'll be a couple more in here. I think at least one, or no, a couple more in here that I'm not going to open and show the packaging to. This is Prescriptive McGovern's Apsu at number 9, the self-titled album. Prescriptive McGovern's Apsu obviously arose out of the ashes of Absu, being Prescriptive McGovern's basically his band anyway. Obviously, they had all their troubles, but this album is so good. This continued carrying the Apsu torch, and it just absolutely went far and above what I expected. It got way more technical. It got way more theatrical. This is just an absolutely stellar piece of black and thrash metal, and I don't even want to call it that, man. It's super archaic sounding. It's got all kinds of mystical elements to it. It's just, I know these guys are really into magic and whatever kind of garbage they made up, but it's just super good stuff, man. I really love this Apsu album. If you've not listened to this, if you didn't even know it came out, because I only found out about it because it got recommended to me on YouTube, and I would have not known other than the fact that that logo looks just like Apsu's. I don't know, man. But yeah, number 9, Prescriptive governs Apsu. This reptilian album rules. Number 8, this was actually higher up before. This is Eternal Hails by Darkthrone. This is a great album. I hear people talk crap that, oh, you guys, you know, Darkthrone could release an album of them farting into a microphone and people would buy it up. Potentially. As long as it's Fenris. But, no, really, I really enjoyed this album an awful lot. I listened to this for the first time while I was cat-sitting at my future sister-in-law's house. And, I really enjoyed it. It's really fun. The guys just know metal, man. These guys are just, they're students of the game, man. They're just full-on artists when it comes to this kind of thing, and I really appreciate that about them. They've really started to introduce a lot more doomy elements to this, which is, you know, as expected, because if you listen to, like, the commentary discs from the early Darkthrone stuff or the Isengard material, you're going to hear him, Fenris, referencing stuff like Candlemass, and they love all kinds of metal, man. Everything from grindcore to Candlemass, and it kind of really shows in their album chronology. And this is a great album. Hate Cloak was the single, but I would think the best song on here is maybe Lost Arcane, City of Upakar, or Upakra. I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't know what that little A with the circle over it sounds like. So, Darkthrone at number 8. Number 7. This one, man, I was beyond impressed the first time I heard this. Like, I was like mind blown that this was as good as it was. But this is Violence Unimagined by Cannibal Corpse. I can't believe I love this as much as I do, because I was pretty disappointed with the Skeletal Domain, and I'm gonna level with you, I haven't even listened to Red Before Black because I was so disappointed with the Skeletal Domain. That was probably the worst Cannibal Corpse album, I would say. But this is bringing back, you know, some old school feels of like Eaten Back to Life, man. This is a super thrashy death metal album, and it's just, overall, it's a great album. I just enjoy the crap out of it. Eric Rutan is a breath of fresh air into this group. It really makes me think of, you know, Eaten Back to Life and maybe some of that Ripping Corpse stuff that obviously Eric had going on for a while there. It's so much fun. I just enjoy this. It's a headbanging, fist-pumping, great old-school death metal album with lots of thrashy elements to it. So, Cannibal Corpse. Next, number 6. This is Tales of Other Time by Stormkeep. I haven't shown this yet either. I will soon, but I'm going to keep it like this for now. Obviously, I knew this was going to be on here. I mean, come on. If you guys haven't heard this, get on it. Sadly, this is pretty sold out from what I hear. This is limited to 999 copies, whatever. But this is just everything good about the second wave of black metal rolled up into one with some extra elements and maybe a little bit of dissection-y kind of death metal-y moments. It's just epic black metal. And not in the summoning sense, obviously. It has some synthy moments to it. It has some acoustic parts, but it's just a stellar, gorgeous black metal, chock full of melody, chock full of great instrumentation. Stormkeep. Now, before I go to my top 5, which you guys probably have a solid idea as to who's going to be in here based off of my taste and what you haven't heard mentioned, I have about 10 or so honorable mentions. I actually think it's 9, but whatever. My honorable mentions being Hour of Ragnarok by Graveland. Great new kind of folky black metal album. from this year. Rob Darkin's vocals are kind of funny in it. I couldn't manage to get a copy of it or have a copy on the way here, so I decided to not leave it in here. Djevil with, I don't know how to pronounce that. Djevil's new album from this year is absolutely stellar. Old school Norwegian style black metal. I just absolutely loved it. I really want to get a copy of it. It's kind of expensive, and I don't want to buy the tape off Ominous Domain. And Depressive Witches with the album Bad Flask. This one came out really early. It's a French two-piece black and heavy metal band. And I saw Travis over at Lyricise 17 show it on his Instagram. I really, really liked the album cover, and I went ahead and looked it up, and I fell in love with it. There's a really awesome music video for it here on YouTube, and I can't justify paying like 12 or 18 bucks to ship an $11 CD over here. So I'll try to get it one way or another. Next one is Fires by Elderwind, a great Russian black metal album. Not as stellar as the first two Elderwind records, but I really did enjoy it quite a bit. Elderwind has never been a disappointment for me. It's just great, great black metal. Dust of Forever by Woman is the Earth is another great one that I did not purchase this year. It's a little different than the Woman is the Earth I'm used to. I have one of their other albums on here. I've seen them live. They're great. It's a lot more aggressive than their earlier stuff. Their earlier stuff is a lot more of an atmospheric, almost Cascadian style of black metal, which would make sense with the group of people they associate themselves with. I really, really did enjoy it. I listened to it a couple of times. It's got more of like a cosmic style to it. It's like a frigid, blasting, atmospheric black metal. More akin to, you know, some of the more spacey bands, like I said. Another one, Elmikos Gildet Asfaltor by Northern Silence. It's an international black metal project between the United States and Spain. I don't know why there's no physical copies of this album yet. I am super disappointed in that fact, and I cannot wait for the pressing. I was asking a guy on Instagram I saw also share it because I never heard anybody talk about it, which is probably because they haven't printed anything, and you know I mostly follow this crap. But I am just over the moon about this album. It is an atmospheric, raw black metal masterwork. Super good. I honestly think it does Passage de Hiver style almost better than Passage de Hiver, but don't tell anybody. Next, A Diabolic Thirst by Spectral Wound. This Quebec-based black metal powerhouse, man. Modern black metal greatness. I think they are going to really instill a love of that Finnish kind of hyper melodic, super aggressive black metal over here in the North American scene. Obviously, people love Sargeist and Horna, but it's not always going to be the thing that gets into people's ears, and I think Spectral Wound is really going to be really good at that. Next, Chainsword with Blight March. Chainsword is a Polish death metal band with some really cool war themes. I think that they're also big fans of that tabletop RPG game that Bolt Thrower likes to use in their lyrics, and that would make good sense because they're stylistically incredibly similar to both Frozen Soul and Bolt Thrower. And I did not pick up a copy again, and I don't want to get the tape, I want the CD. So I don't have it, and that is why they're not placed. And the last one I threw on here just a little bit ago because I completely forgot to put it on my list. This is Corporeal Torment by Anatomia. Anatomia is a stellar Japanese death doom band. I'm a huge fan of all the stuff that I've heard from them. It is absolutely nasty if you're a fan of Coffins, if you're a fan of Asphyx, all those kind of things, and you don't know Anatomia, you're slacking, bro. Get on it. Anatomia is great. All right, top 5, man. Some of my favorite black metal bands of all time are located on this top 5. And the fact that they all put out albums in a year is wild to me. Number 5 is A Distant Fire by Alba. Alda is one of the greatest black metal bands to come out of the United States. I have all of their full lengths at this point. I need a couple more releases, probably a demo or two. Definitely a demo or two or some splits. But this is just a gorgeous, mid-paced, somewhat quick-moving atmospheric black metal album. It's got some really nice ritualistic kind of acoustic, rhythmic portions to it. It's just really really trance-inducing, and it's everything you expect out of this gorgeous Cascadian-style band. The only thing that I think keeps it from being even further up is the production a bit. This production is a little bit less refined sounding than I wanted out of all this great instrumentation. It's raw, which I understand, but I think it's distracting in a little bit, in a couple of ways. But I absolutely love this album. This band is musically one of the greatest black metal bands of all time. I absolutely adore you, Alba. Number 4, I haven't shown this one yet in an update. I will soon. Forever Glade by Worm. Anthony over at the Metal Miners also made me privy to this a couple months back. I am beyond excited to be talking about this masterwork. This is just like suffocatingly gloomy and swampy and just hideous. It's just this enormous soundscape that just sounds like watching an abomination arise from a swamp, and it's just one of the nastiest, filthiest death metal albums in the past couple of years. Mixed with the black metal-ish aesthetics that this, I forgot the guy's name. I think it's just Worm he goes by. I don't know what he goes by. But the fact that he could create such a great album with mostly just himself and some session guys, especially session guys, because, you don't have as much time to, get together and kind of craft and refine the thing, you don't get to sit there at the pottery wheel and make it look as great as it could. This guy knocked it out of the park, man. This is a 10 out of 10 album. Obviously, this top 5's all 10 out of 10s. I would even say up to number 6, Stormkeep, I would say even a 10 out of 10. Maybe Cannibal, I don't know. But this Worm album is stellar. It's got some little hints of Funeral Doom. This is, again, like Darkthrone. This guy is a student of the game. This guy knows what he's doing. You could tell this guy has a huge collection of stuff sitting behind him as he's starting to write stuff. Stellar stuff. Number 3. I missed it on the first order, and I have the pre-order for the new pressing here in February or March or whenever it comes out. But it is And Again Into the Light by Panopticon. Panopticon is one of the greatest metal bands of all time. It would have ranked higher if I got it sooner. I almost could guarantee you that. But the new Panopticon album is just the perfect progression from what was being built up. I mean, he had the whole big double album 2-3 years ago. What was that, 2018? 3 years ago? Almost 4 years ago? I don't know. But he created this gorgeous 70-minute masterwork of just an emotional roller coaster. The guy is writing this great kind of post-rocky style in there. It was already there a little bit, but it's really been magnified quite a bit. It's just gorgeous, it's soundscapey, and it really sounds like he's really excreting out his emotions into the album. And that's something you don't get as much with the style of black metal, really. It's just a genuine, real heartfelt feeling album, and that's something that I really don't think that I could ever ask for. And he really does a great amount of dancing in between major and minor tonalities. It has this kind of almost bittersweet sound quality to it. Like, yes, he's reflecting on something dark, but he's also looking forward to it. And that really fits with themes with stuff like The End or like No Hope, like KNOW Hope. It's like almost looking out from darkness, which is something that I think is a really beautiful thing. I was watching him talk about it on the Heavy Metallurgy. He got to talking about the new album, and he's already working on another one, so I don't even understand how this man is just so unbelievably talented. But beyond that, a No Hope album, I also really dug the song A Snowless Winter. I love the whole album, but those are just a couple of the highlights. Number 2, haven't shown this one yet, but I'm going to show it real quick here for the video. Number 2 is Can Bard with Devoured by the Oak. Nobody talks about this band. I don't understand why nobody's talking about Can Bard, man. One of my favorite modern bands, definitely I'd say my favorite band from Switzerland. Celtic Frost is like tough to say I like this band more than, but I listen to this way more than I listen to Hellhammer and Celtic Frost. It's just a gorgeous album, man. These guys are getting way folkier than ever before. They've really started to introduce this kind of epic folk metal sound into this gorgeous atmospheric black metal styling, and I can't say I love this anymore. I really do. It was fighting with the other album for its #1 spot, and it was only recently that I actually solidified it, because I just had trouble. This is just, they got folkier, and they really are starting to get this kind of more of a mid-pace, rather than just this epic kind of black metal, slow, kind of brooding, maybe summoning influence, kind of folkiness to them. They're starting to really take after the band Finsterforest from Germany, if you guys know who they are. I hope you do. If you don't, check out Finsterforest. If you like Finsterforest, check this out. If you just want some great folky atmospheric black metal, check out Cannibal. And #1, my #1 album in the year, man. This one got dethroned a couple of times by Cannibal, but I couldn't justify putting it any lower, and I have no idea why this worked so well for me and why this one had to be #1 for me as much as it did, but it did. This is Primordial Arcana by Wolves in the Throne Room. I don't think I've been this impressed with a black metal album out of nowhere in years. I don't get what it is about this one that just hit me so hard. It really just got me right in the feels as soon as I heard it for the first time. I haven't been this blown away since the first time I heard Celestial Lineage. Obviously still the Wolves in the Throne Room, but this band is something that's it's solidified my love of black metal, and this album in particular really put them over the top, and they really have thrown themselves, I think, into like my top 10 black metal bands of all time because of stuff like this. I honestly think I might like this more than Celestial Lineage. It is just mystical beyond comprehension. It's gorgeous, and it's dark, and it sounds ancient. It's just got this primitive to it, and it's almost this primitive ambience where there's a lot going on, but it's like natural chaos, you know? It's like watching the forest, and you see leaves moving, you see squirrels running around, you see animals in the distance, there's 50 different noises at once. It's a ton going on, but it's all just one big part of the same thing, and it's gorgeous. Now, that is probably the greatest thing I can think of it, but the song Underworld Aurora is the thing that sold me on this one. That's my new favorite Wolves in the Throne Room song, for sure. This might even be my new favorite album of theirs, and it's just unreal. It's if you guys have ever played the video game Far Cry Primal, being the video game about being, cavemen and stuff, there's some stuff you do in like a cavern where you're like in a black cave with just some like torchlight, and then you start kind of coming out into this like oasis underground. There's a hole in the cave ceiling, so there's trees growing and stuff, but it's still surrounded by dark caves, and like there's some water. You swim under the water and you get out. That is atmospherically what that sounds like to me. And like, if you can create that much atmosphere without even describing it with words, if you can paint a picture with a soundscape like this that is that detailed to me, you sold me, man. That's what I'm all about with this kind of stuff. And this Wolves in the Throne Room album has easily earned their spot at my #1 spot. So that is my top 25 albums of 2021. I can't say thank you guys enough for hitting 1,000 subscribers. It's been a great year for all things considered, especially for me. Getting married next year, got engaged this year. I got all these great albums to listen to. I'm working on some new records. It's just, hopefully next year's even better, man. So, Nostrovia, Happy New Year. Keep it greasy.